Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I am going to be doing a ranking tier list of all seasons of The Walking Dead. That's ranking seasons 1 through 10, 101 to 1015. It's a video that I've been kind of thinking of doing for a while. I kind of thought about it when doing seasons 1 to 9, but at that point season 10 was just around the corner, so I thought I'll give it a wait, give it a couple of weeks until season 10 is concluded. Obviously, by this time, the finale would have aired about a week ago, but sadly, due to coronavirus, that we can never. We'll have to wait a little bit longer. So I'm only going to be counting episodes 101 to 1015 based on what I know. I know that I want to include 1016 mainly because of Maggie's return, but unfortunately, I have to stay biased and I have to stay within what I know between episode 1 and season 10, episode 15. So it's going to be a bit of a long video, so grab your popcorn, grab a drink, grab a snack, grab whatever you need, because it's going to be a long one. So at the number 10 spot as my least favourite season, I'm going to have to put season 6. Now, in terms of pacing, season 6 was not the best. The first half of the season did seem a bit slow in terms of pacing. Just wasn't the best for me. I know a lot of, obviously with Morgan returning to the franchise, that was his full major appearance, even though he appeared at the end of season 5. This is like his first full season, again, with Rick and Co, because he only made 2 short appearances before season 5, and that was in season 3 and the pilot episode. So, yeah, season 6 again wasn't the best. The whole first half of the season it did feel a bit slow for me, but again there were some good moments thrown in with Daryl, Abraham, and Sasha leading the horde away. The whole Morgan episode I did think as one of my favourite episodes, as it was extended and did give us a bit of a in between on how Morgan from season 3 was absolutely batshit crazy to the whole all life is precious philosophy in season 5. So it's good to have that little bit of filler in there, but I think counting that episode as its own, I think that should have been the first episode, but I just wasn't really thinking of it. Also, the whole first episode of season 6 being black and white was probably not the best decision. I think they should have just kept it normal in colour, but because I feel like we can piece together what the timeline from there. So I feel like that's a shoddy attempt at just lazy, like thinking that we can't figure it out. But main issue I did have with the first half of season 6 was just the whole Glenn dumpster thing. That did piss me off a little bit. Being a comic reader myself, knowing where Glenn's supposed to die, I'll get into that a little bit later on. Just didn't. I know. I feel like it was a shoddy attempt at AMC to include tension and just a whole just think, oh no, Glenn's dead and stuff like that, because Glenn at this point has kind of cemented himself as a brilliant survivor. He wouldn't go. I didn't think Glenn was going to go that way. I said to my friends when the first episode aired that it wasn't. I don't think he's dead. I think he's still alive. But I mean, at the time I was shocked, and I know AMC cut Stephen Young's name from the intro a couple of times before episode 7 when he came back. I mean, no one believed he was dead, so I think that's an opportunity wasted, to be honest. But episodes 2 and 3, again, not the best episodes in my opinion. Episode 5 was meh, to say the least. I mean, the only good thing that came out of that episode was revealing that Maggie was pregnant. She was so desperate to go look for Glenn, but then she ends up turning around anyway because she's pregnant, which I understand, because then you're putting yourself and your future baby at risk. So, again, like, that's the only thing we could have learned in the episode. I mean, in episode 3, Maggie, at the end, Maggie could have mentioned that she was pregnant to someone, and that would have given a lot more emotion to the scene, having us think that Glenn had died and that he was never going to see his child. So, episode 6 was probably a good episode for me. Primarily a Daryl episode, and if a lot of people know me, Daryl is one of my favourite characters in the entire show. So, and also introducing a comic character in Dwight, played by Austin Amelia, who is now currently in Fear the Walking Dead. But I thought his first appearance, like seeing him pre-burnt face, because when we meet him in the books, you literally just see him with his burnt face, and that gives us a bit of intrigue and mystery, which then later gets rectified in season 7. But I mean, again, another episode. Episode 7, again, Stephen Yeun's return as Glenn, but didn't really bother me a little bit. But then the cliffhanger at the end with the bell tower falling, and the primary first half of season 6 has been the No Way Out story arc. So to see it again, like adapted from book to screen, I have to say book is better. Because at this point, Morgan is dead in the books. Because Robert Kirkman did say that when he reintroduced Morgan, he didn't really know what to do with him. Hence why he became a side character in the books and then just eventually died. Because at the time he was with Michonne, because they were shagging, apparently. But then, obviously, if you watch the mid-season finale, you had the post-credit scene where we get the whole "your stuff belongs to Negan" scene. And when I first saw that, I was screaming for joy. At first, I didn't know who Negan was or any of the saviors, because I had been reading the books up to this point. But I bought volume 17 the day after that episode aired, and then saw Negan's introduction. I was like, holy shit, this man is amazing. So when I rewatched the series again before the second half started, I was screaming for joy. I was so happy to see that Negan was coming into the story. And then for the second half of this, or especially episode 9, that definitely focuses on No Way Out, especially including major iconic moments such as Carl getting his eye shot out, introducing Jesus, Hilltop, all these iconic characters that we have known from the book. And knowing that Tom Payne, who plays Jesus, is British and was on the classic TV show Skins for an episode, yeah, I was jumping for joy when and I was surprised because a lot of British people play American actors. Andrew Lincoln as Rick Grimes, who was in Love Actually. Lauren Cohan, who was in Van Wilder 2. She is just incredibly British. And obviously Tom Payne, who was in Skins. So you got a very good British cast. Episode 10 was obviously when they introduced Jesus. I was happy with it, but at the same time, I think they could have done better with Jesus. But I know a lot of people didn't like. A lot of people thought that Jesus could do a lot more with his time on the show, but what could he do? Episodes 12 was quite good. 13 was shit. Episode 14 was alright. 15 was shit, but again, a lot of people outraged with Daryl getting shot, so I think that was why a lot of people were pissed off, and especially AMC couldn't deal with the backlash of Daryl getting shot, so they had to have Dwight say he's alright. So, and episode 16, undoubtedly the best episode of the season because obviously of Negan's introduction, but I was a bit pissed off that he only appeared for the final 10 minutes, and the shoddy cliffhanger, which everyone knew, which was awful at the time because everyone was like, what the fuck? And also I have to admit that Stephen Ogg, who was Trevor in GTA 5, made his debut appearance in the final episode, and I could not have been happier because I played a lot of GTA 5 when I was young. When it came out, I pre-ordered the game, and I loved Stephen Ogg as Trevor, and to see him in the Walking Dead universe was one of the best aspects. Number 9 has to be season 7. Again, another bad season. The pacing again in the first half is just terrible. Because I found out recently that the events between Glenn and Abraham's death and at the end of season 6 to the end of season 8, so 2 whole seasons was spanned over a month. That is terrible. Like, you really need to sort your, like, I would have understood if it went on a bit longer, as it, like, they could have implemented mental warfare. I know Negan in season 8 introduces chemical warfare, but what can you do? But season 7, the pacing was horrible, and just Rick being a little bitch for the first half. I know a lot of people are Rick fans, so I have to admit he was being a bit of a bitch. But I have to admit some good moments did come from the first half, and including the second half. Like, obviously the Glenn and Abraham death, that was one of the most brutal scenes that the show had ever done up to that point. Introduction of Ezekiel and Shiva, and basically the kingdom, because they are so iconic in the books. Daryl's Easy Street, which still tortures me to this day. I think a lot of people do. Episode 4, meh. Episode 5, meh. Episode 6, I have to deem the Tara and Heath episode one of the worst episodes in the entire show. It's completely pointless. You could skip that entire episode and not feel any, like, you wouldn't, like, you could skip that entire episode and you'd still be the same as watching at the end of episode 5. Episode 7, I have to admit, again, is another one of those gems that I liked. Was obviously the whole episode being issues 104, 105, and 106 of the comic, which is Carl's invasion of the Sanctuary, and probably one of the best scenes / episodes I've ever seen. Obviously Negan implementing the warfare, like mental warfare on Daryl, saying that if you fall out of line even once, I will hurt this child, and he is your best mate's son. So you already killed Glenn, so don't make me kill this kid too. Episode 8, again a bit shoddy, but obviously another cool moment where Spencer gets his guts ripped out. It's a good moment, but an alright episode, but I did enjoy the ending with Daryl and Rick hugging again, so did bring a tear to my eye, no matter how cold my heart is. But the second half did obviously start to ramp things up, but again, still felt a bit slow, especially with Ezekiel planning to join Rick against the Saviors. Just Ezekiel meeting the Rick gang, and again, I don't really watch season 7 a lot because it is, again, not one of my favourites. Again, the whole Eugene submitting to Negan, I hated that for his character, because he, at the end of season 6, Eugene and Abraham had a brilliant heart-to-heart, and it breaks my heart to see that he just throws it all away, not even a couple of days later. And it's god-awful, to be honest. I mean, I like Eugene in later seasons, but season 7 and season 8, he's not my favourite. I will be perfectly honest. Again, a lot of the episodes I really missed out. I do miss out, but I do watch them here and there, because there are some good parts in the episodes, especially with Sasha at the end of the season. She's becoming a bit of a warrior, a bit of an assassin, but then eventually, sadly, she dies on the show to do Star Trek. So I haven't watched Star Trek Discovery. I might have to get into it at some point. So, but I'll admit, Sneakle Mountain Green did well as Sasha, so I have to give her that. Episode 16, again, another good finale for me, but mainly because of action, for action's sake. I know Shiva joining in the fray, and then the Kingdom coming in, and Hilltop pushing away the Saviors, I was like, yeah, I was literally screaming for joy throughout the whole 5 minutes of that scene, which is probably the best 5 minutes of TV. But I rank, so it goes season 6 and season 7 at places 10 and 9, respectively. Ranking number 8, I'm going to have to give the season 8. I'm sorry, but All Out War did not live up to its book counterpart. I'm sorry. The pacing again was just slow. The first couple of episodes were good. I admit I cried when Shiva died, because I loved, I don't know, I just love tigers. I do. I really do. But again, with Ezekiel's depression, that is another good part of his character, because becoming part of the war and then losing Shiva, he's chipping away at his facade of being a king, and the kingdom is probably the last thing that is holding his facade together, and what doesn't put him on a downward spiral to depression, which I understand. Episodes 6 and 7 of the King, Widow, and Rick, which was episode 6, was terrible. You spend like a whole episode with Rick nearly being naked, which I'm assuming a lot of fangirls were probably jumping for joy for. So, understandable. Episode 7 again was a bit shit because he just focused on Eugene and Dwight. At this point, I really don't give a shit for Eugene. Episode 8, good in terms of action for it being a massive mirror of issue 120, but unfortunately no good action in there. It's just Carl being a badass, which I have to admit, and probably one of the biggest bullshit things the show did in season 8 was revealing that Carl had been bit and that he was going to die. So I was just straight up no. Second half, episode 9, as much as I hated them killing off Carl, I have to say that it was a good send-off for him. As much as I hated it. Episode 10 was just shit, because it was just showing different stories and where everyone was going. Obviously, thank God it eliminated the trash people, which I have to admit is probably one of the worst show creations they have done. Episode 11, again, it's a poorly paced episode. I was a bit upset for everyone hearing that Carl was dead and that Enid was crying. I did feel for her because I did think that they were going to have a relationship if Carl had survived season 8. But I have to admit, a couple of good episodes I have to mention is episode 13, especially the first 15 minutes. They spend the whole 15 minutes of a battle at Hilltop, so that is probably one of my favourites because I am an action lover for action's sake. But again, still a good episode, and also I have to admit that episode 13 definitely adapts well, but episode 14 was shit. It just obviously it brought back Rick's murder jacket, which I know I'll get into a little bit later on when I get higher in the list, but I just didn't feel it for me. Episode 15 again was just shit. Episode 16, I have to admit, it does wrap up the story quite well, but I feel like they could have wrapped it up by episode 15 or 14, to be honest, if they cut out most of the filler and didn't kill Carl. You hear me? But again, some good iconic moments like Rick slitting Negan's throat. Sadly, he doesn't break his leg like he does in the books, Negan breaking Rick's leg like in the books, which gives Rick that iconic cane. And I know a lot of people from the season 8 trailer wanted to see Old Man Rick from issue 127, which is like a new beginning, which is where season 9 started. But oh well, beggars can't be choosers. So yeah. Next up in the list at number 7, number 7, I have to give it to season 2. Again, slowly paced. How to give a story arc that only lasted 3 issues in the books to 13 episodes. You're gonna get filler. But I will admit, characters do get a lot more development with our crew. Obviously with the introduction of Herschel, played by the late Scott Wilson, God rest his soul. Maggie by Lauren Cohan, and Beth by Emily Kinney. Daryl does get a bit more development in season 2. He's not just a redneck asshole that we met in season 1. And Dale trying to help Andrea adapt to the world, and I know that Shane kind of helps in that progression as she becomes the talented shooter like she's known for in the books. Shane, I have to admit, probably the best character of that farm arc, mainly because it does show his progression from Rick's best friend to full on wants to kill this man. Because you can see in certain episodes in 18 Miles Out when they have the fight at the police station, Laurie telling him that she's pregnant with Shane's child, and destroys Rick, but he has to hold it together. Just again, Shane's progression and like killing Otis as well. I think John Bernthal did a fucking amazing job with Shane, and you can see it in those early season episodes. I've got seasons 1 through 9, and I still go back to the early seasons to watch Shane to see him, because I try and find some plot holes in where he is, and honestly, to this day, I have not found a single plot hole with Shane's progression into a villain, and especially killing Randall in season 2. Honestly, god awful. But I will admit I was a bit disappointed that Dale, who was played by Jeffrey DeMunn, sadly departed the show in season 2 because Frank Darabont was fired from The Walking Dead as its producer. So I understand Jeffrey DeMunn's reason for leaving. He wants to stand by his longtime collaborator, and I mean, Dale lasted a lot longer in the books than he does in the TV show, and to be honest, I wish he got his iconic moment which would have been in season 5, which was given to Bob. A lot of people know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to talk about that later on when I get to season 5 on the list. Personally, again, another great season. A good season, I won't say great season, a good season, but it needs to sort its pacing out. I think it should have done another, I'd say it would have given it 10 episodes for that season, to be honest. Because, I mean, the first half of the arc is basically trying to find Sophia, and that's just filler. So, sorry if you are fans of season 2, I just don't like it as much as other seasons. I think we're on to number 6, which I've done season 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, 2. I'm going to have to give my number 6 spot to season... Actually, no, I'm going to give it to... I'm going to give it to season 9. Actually, no. I'm going to give the number 6 spot to season 1. Season 1, it's the beginning of the show, so I understand it's iconic for most people as always, because it's, Rick Grimes' introduction, and we're having to introduce to these characters, and obviously Rick played by Andrew Lincoln, Laurie played by Sarah Wayne Callies from Prison Break, Chandler Riggs as Carl Grimes, which I'll admit, Carl in the early seasons was a little shit and I hated him. Season 3 was when his character growth became brilliant. But yeah, season 1, I know it only had 6 episodes, and I understand you have to introduce everyone. You don't want a massive 13 episode season and then just don't want to ruin it from there. So I understand why they only made the first season 6 episodes, basing it on the first 6 issues of the book. So, but I mean, it's a great introductory episode, just all round. Episode 2 again was quite good, messing with in Atlanta, introducing more iconic characters like Glenn, Andrea, and even introducing some good non-book characters like Daryl and Merle Dixon. So they were quite good. I'll admit Michael Rooker's... This was the first thing I'd ever seen Michael Rooker in for The Walking Dead, and after that I did watch him in Guardians of the Galaxy as Yondu Udanta, so I am glad that Michael Rooker was a part of the show. Same with Norman Reedus, that is his career-defining role, to say the least. I know he appeared in such films as Blade 2, The Boondock Saints, in earlier years, but to be honest, this is where I found Norman Reedus on this show, so great introductory as always. Some episodes were good, but then I know it does steer away from the books a little bit with the whole CDC plot, and to be honest, I would have preferred if they... I mean, I understand they want to have to look for a cure, I understand that, but in the books, they literally... The whole trade ends, that whole arc at Atlanta ends with Shane dying. And I know Robert Kirkman said early on that he was going to kill Rick off in issue 6 by Shane, and then the whole book was just going to be based on Carl's story and how he deals with his father dead for real, and him dealing with Shane killing his dad, essentially. But again, a good season. I am happy to say it's an alright season. Number 5, I'm going to have to give it to season 5 because it's sort of halfway. Like I said, some episodes were good. Like, probably one of my most favourite episodes is No Sanctuary, which is the premiere episode where Carol bursts through and she completely decimates everyone. To be honest, I enjoyed a lot of that episode, but then from then on, it did become again a bit slow paced. Well, especially with the Beth arc. So from when Beth is found at the hospital, like, why get rid of her halfway through season 4 to then bring her back and then kill her a couple of episodes later? I know she gives us Noah, but he doesn't really last long, so they kind of made Beth's character pointless. But then, to be honest, some of my favourite episodes did come from season 5, like episode 9 with Tyrese's death, like just the slow acceptance and saying goodbye to Tyrese. Episode 10, again, one of my favourite episodes. I know that's not a favourite among the fan base, primarily because it is just them walking for 45 minutes, but I quite like it due to the slow, like, I know Daryl, Maggie, and Sasha are ready to give up because they lost Beth and Tyrese, respectively, and they just want to go out. They just want to bail out. And of course, Rick saying the "We are the Walking Dead" line, which is so iconic in the books, even though it was said at the prison, even though this is post-prison. But, I mean, I'm just happy Rick got to say those iconic words, to be honest. Aaron's introduction, quite good. Introduction of Alexandria, good, but it was slow-paced. The whole Rick dictatorship, I understand where he's coming from, but I just didn't like it. And then again, I mentioned earlier in the video that Morgan was returning, and I was glad to see that he came back. Especially, and sadly, we got the introduction of the Wolves, which are again another show creation that just didn't work. My number 4 spot has to go to season 3. Season 3 was a definite change for the franchise, adapting one of the most beloved stories from the books, which is the prison arc. And again, I do not blame the show for doing what it has done. It's just good. It's just good arc. But I know introducing Woodbury and introducing the Governor, one of the most formidable villains that the show has ever made. I understand why they did it, so I'm okay with that. David Morrissey as the Governor, again, another British actor who has been on Doctor Who. He's like, why are Brits playing American actors? I mean, even I could do it, probably not. I don't know, but again, another brilliant season and a good villain, because Merle, the Governor, is just. I mean, they toned him down from the books, which I'm a bit disappointed, but I'm not at the same time. I know Andrea falls in love with the Governor, and herself, she has been dealing with some shitty people. So, yeah, you can see where I'm coming from. So, it's just not the best. I will admit that wholeheartedly. Her arc isn't the best, but I'm kind of glad she died at the end, but then I kind of wasn't because I didn't get to see the badass warrior she becomes, even though she hangs out with and eventually gets with Rick in the books. I know you Roshone fans will eat your heart out. Well, actually no, they'll be happy that Andrea didn't survive, but as a pure comic fan, I have to say Roshone fans eat your heart out. So, yeah. Mel dying in season 3 was a heartbreaker for me. It's always one of the best scenes that I see. Michael Rooker definitely sells him as an anti-hero, so I think that's what cements Michael Rooker as a brilliant actor. Again, the prison act was good. I mean, the death of Laurie, I know a lot of people will agree with me on this, and that Laurie was a shit character. I understand that Sarah Wayne Callies played the role perfectly with the material she had, but I think a lot of people can agree with me that Laurie was a shit character and a shit mum. So, I know that's gonna piss some people off, but her death was done ceremoniously, even though it wasn't done the way it was in the books. And I understand them not killing Judith off. So, I mean, she's now a prosperous character in the newer season. So, she's just, I don't know. She's just, Judith is just amazing. and her actress Kaylee Fleming, who has been in Star Wars. Yeah, she was good. I mean, I know Carl's transition in season 3 has been a bit of a him kind of going down a path of psychopathy, and he slowly gets there, but then Rick pulls himself back up to then pull his son up from the brink of destruction, essentially. My number three spot has to go to season 9. Season 9 is a good season overall. I mean, the first 5 episodes were just amazing, especially the first episode, because it brings us to this new beginning story, and obviously introducing the iconic Rick shortened hair, bit of beard look like he does in the books, which, to be honest, I loved. Everyone is back with a new, fresher season, including the title intro. For over seasons 1 through 8, it started to deteriorate. Then season 9 brought it back up into the sunlight and showed us there was a new beginning. Again, all the episodes, most of my favourite moments are from seasons 9 and 10. So I know a lot of people were upset when Andrew Lincoln announced that Rick was leaving the show. I was upset too, but I thought I'd give the show a go. But when I saw that the Whisperers were being introduced, my feelings for Rick, dare I say, went away. I knew that Rick Grimes leaving the show was devastating for most, and to find out after his final episode aired that he would be starring in a trilogy of movies definitely made me think that, okay, Rick could do these movies and then go back. If Andrew Lincoln can confirm this, I would be happy to say the same, because I know recent reports of saying that he will appear in the final season as like a... I don't know if he's going to have a key role or if it's a cameo. I don't know. So who knows what they're going to do. But again, a lot of my favourite episodes, like episode 5, Rick's final episode, was amazing. Episode 6 was amazing with the introduction of the Whisperers. The whole mystery of talking walkers. For anyone who hasn't read the books at all, are in for a treat with the Whisperers. They are brilliant villains. For zombie apocalypse fans, because you don't think about it. You don't know. I mean, I know Rick had the guts trick, but then what if you could walk with them and wear the skin and live among them? People don't think about that, and Robert Kirkman had the ingenious idea to do it. So we had the introduction of Alpha, played by the beautiful Samantha Morton, who again is British. So we Brits are taking over American TV slowly but surely. She was absolutely amazing. I wasn't a big fan of her accent for Alpha, but then I got adjusted to it a bit more. She was just brilliant. Also, Cassidy McClincy, who plays Lydia, she is quite a good character as well, mixing it up with Henry and potentially having a romance with him. Also, I have to admit, I'm going to be a bit biased here. Episodes 12 and 13 are one of my favourite episodes, mainly because it introduced Ryan Hurst as Beta. And if you don't know Ryan Hurst, he was Opie Winston in the first 5 seasons of Sons of Anarchy, and I want him to be my dad. So yeah, he's a tall man, and he plays Beta so fucking well. He just, that heart, that commanding presence, that booming, deep voice gives my life purpose. Again, so many brilliant episodes. We even get a cameo or a guest appearance from Tara from True Blood. I've forgotten her actress's name, believe it or not, but she played good in the flashback episode for the Crosses. Episode 15, The Calm Before, one of the best episodes, definitely in my top 5 because of the big Pike moment, killing off many main characters, and just it. I can never see a plot hole wrong with that episode. Episode 9:15. If you haven't seen it, I'd give it a watch. It is a brilliant episode. Sensing that community, like they mention the fair so many times, they actually do the fair in episode 15. To be honest, most seasons with episode 15 has been a bit shit, but to be honest, this blows it out the fucking water. It is one of the most brilliantly written, brilliantly acted, and one of the best episodes of the entire show. And especially not to mention episode 13, where it's Daryl versus Beta, One of the best fight scenes. See, a lot of these good scenes happen in season 9, which is why I recommend you highly recommend you watch season 9, even if you're a first time viewer or even a long time viewer. Season 9 back half is one of the best back half seasons ever, and including the finale where it introduces Snow for the first time, and Negan gets out of his cell and he interacts with some of our older cast members such as Eugene. Eugene was his former lackey, and now Eugene is essentially his own man. And obviously the final moments with Carol and Ezekiel getting divorced, and the first mention of the Commonwealth at the end with the radio calling. My number 2 spot has to go to season 10. Season 10, for a lot of people, and I say this with the utmost, I can say this without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best seasons ever made for television. I know a lot of people have started to leave the show, including Michonne, this being Denai Guerrero's final season, but I could tell that this season was going to be a very big high one for me. It is. I know it hasn't done well in terms of ratings, but as in reviews, it is one of the best seasons ever. Prime examples being episode 2, We Are the End of the World, the Alpha and Beta backstory, which brilliantly written and brilliantly acted by Samantha Morton and Ryan Hurst respectively, and they are just brilliant. So anyone who hasn't seen season 10, give it a watch. Episodes 3, 4 and 5, again quite good episodes. Even Negan escaping from his cell, which is a popular story in the comics. He escapes, joins the Whisperers and meets Beta. And Jeffrey D. Morgan and Ryan Hurst, they are one of two of the best actors you could put together. I know Ryan is supposed to play this big scary ass dude, but trust me, Ryan Hurst in real life, he is so fucking he is the loveliest man going. He's so kind. He's a personal dog trainer. He's a dog trainer, and does meditation and guru and all that shit. And I wanna meet this man in real life. Same with Jeffrey D. Morgan. Same with Norman Reedus, and a lot of the Walking Dead cast members. But Ryan Hurst, you are my dad. But again, a lot of good episodes, especially in the latter half of the season. Again, episodes like episode 7, with Sadiq dealing with his PTSD, and then sadly dying in the same episode. That broke my heart, to be honest. Second half of season 10 was again brilliant. The season premiere was quite good with the whole cave scenario. There is just so much I could talk about this season. I could go on for literally an hour talking about how great season 10 is. Episodes 11 and 12, they were all both quite good as well for the Battle of Hilltop, and especially Eugene singing When the Wind Blows by Iron Maiden, one of the best songs I have listened to in recent memory. So, and obviously introducing the Commonwealth and Stephanie herself, and I've looked up the actress who plays Stephanie, and she looks so beautiful. She is gorgeous, and I can't wait for her to be introduced in season 11. Episode 12, yet again, Alpha's death. One of the best episodes, again. It's just how Samantha Morton plays her character, and then just seeing the iconic moment of Negan holding Alpha as she dies, giving her that final kiss. And I know a lot of people hated when they saw that kiss, and you know that in the mid-season premiere that they shag, in a sense. They get naked for each other, which I have to give major respect for Jeffrey D. Morgan and Samantha Morton being able to stand naked in front of each other in front of a whole crew of filmmakers. That takes a lot of courage and determination. I give my round of applause. Episode 13, Michonne's final episode. A great way to send off a brilliant character, knowing that she has found Rick, or knows something about him which she hasn't known for about 7 years. She can finally go off and find him, and I know they are reportedly making a Michonne series, so hopefully Rick appears in that show at the end, and they start making their way back home, and then turn up in the final season. Who knows? Episode 14, Look at the Flowers. Again, another great episode with the whole Negan and Daryl dynamic. They become friends, I suppose. Learning Beta's origin as the country singer Half Moon. Another great moment, because a lot of people found out that Daniel Salazar from Fear the Walking Dead had a record collection of Beta Before the Apocalypse called Half Moon. And then he finally confirms that he is Half Moon. Well, in a sense, he is Half Moon from before the world ended. And obviously introducing one of, personally, my favourite character in the whole series, Princess, aka Juanita Sanchez. I know some of my friends don't agree that she is annoying, and to be honest, I understand where you're coming from. A lot of people I have spoken to have said that with Princess, you can either like her or hate her. But I hope she has some more brilliant scenes in season 11, and including the finale, which will be released later this year. Again, as well, leaving episode 15 on a cliffhanger was just amazing. So, just like that cliffhanger of just Beta just walking up saying reward, and him thinking that the walkers are talking to him, and he's spiraling to insanity after Alpha's death is amazing. So, a brilliant cliffhanger for recent season, for making us want to hype for the final episode of the year of season 10. And of course, my number one spot has to go to season 4. Season 4 has been a bit of a, obviously it was a bit of a refresher after knowing that the governor had disappeared. Knowing that he was out there somewhere was always a looming threat for our survivors, but obviously had skipped about 9 months. So, just good seeing everyone was at their best. Obviously, the first half of the season dealing with a never before seen story of the plague infection, which makes sense in a world where the world has gone to shit, because there are no CDC scientists. There's nothing. The CDC could just release a ton of plagues and viruses that could affect so many people, and just seeing that is brilliant. Especially notable mentions for Scott Wilson as Herschel. He definitely is the moral compass, and he did give one of the best performances of the entire show. For the whole "You Risk Your Life" speech, that is one of his best speeches he has ever done. And again, one of my most favourite episodes being the mid-season finale, where the governor returns with new characters. One we only really get to know, which is Tara. He destroys the prison and kills Herschel in the process, and that is one of the most devastating scenes in the entire show. It broke my heart. Broke my heart completely. But I'm glad he got the send-off he deserved. I mean, it's a brutal death, but it was brilliant nonetheless. I know the second half of the season was a bit scarce. I know introducing iconic characters such as Abraham, Rosita, Eugene, the Terminus Cannibals, they were actually quite good, threatening villain at the same time. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what they had to bring, including Andrew J. West as Gareth. Another favourite episode of mine has to be season 4, episode 12, which is a Daryl and Beth episode. And to be honest, it gave one of the best speeches or conversations between any two characters on the show, which being the "You'll Never See Maggie Again," where Daryl gets absolutely pissed and angry at Beth because she's just looking for booze like some dumb college bitch. His words, not mine. Again, there are so many things I could talk about this season. I could go on for hours, but it's just another brilliant season. Again, when they have that conversation where Beth says Daryl will be the last man standing, that is a brilliant scene. And even including Daryl referencing Breaking Bad at the same time, because I know there have been a lot of Easter eggs regards to Breaking Bad on the show, so who knows? Jesse Pinkman and Walter White might actually be in the Walking Dead universe, but who knows where they are, so who knows? But I'm glad to see that episode is still one of my favourites to this day, including episode 16, the season finale. Again, I'll mention a lot of premieres, mid-season finales, and season finales, because they are generally some of the best episodes that they make, because they probably put, I know they put a lot of energy into all the episodes, but I think they pay extra brilliance to the premieres, the mid-season finales, mid-season premieres, and the finales. So, but again, the season finale again was great, showing that the crazy Rick was still here when he ripped out a leader's throat out, and just that was just a brilliant scene from start to finish. So again, another brilliant season. Oh dearie me. So that's my ranking. So see, from I'm surprised this video is 45 minutes long. Um, Here are my rankings from worst to best. So we have season 6, season 7, season 8, season 5, season 2. No, season 6, season 7, season 8, season 2, season 5, season 1, season 9, season 10, season 4, and 3 as well. I forgot to mention 3. Um, but again, the show is just brilliant in so many ways. So they all have their brilliant moments in each individual season. That's why I keep revisiting the show so much. And look, my little I even got a Rick and Daryl Funko Pop because the show is my life. And I thank these actors for portraying these characters in such a brilliant way. I know, again, Rick, one of my favourite characters, Daryl, one of my favourite characters, Princess, Ezekiel, Shiva, Negan, they're all brilliant characters, even with Carl Grimes. I know there are some characters that were born to be hated, like Ron and Sam Anderson from Alexandria, and I hope to see what they bring in season 11 because Maggie has returned and she's returning full time as well, and hopefully with the introduction of the Commonwealth, which the Walking Dead fans will know we call them stormtroopers because their soldiers are dressed like stormtroopers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to hear me talk about more Walking Dead, like if you want me to go in deeper depth with some of the seasons, leave a comment down below. If you want to see my comic reviews, they are up on the channel, so go check them out. Leave any suggestions for videos down below. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay safe, stay home, and protect the NHS. Like and subscribe. I'll see you soon.